Hello everyone. I wanted to do a quick video with an example I thought that illustrates very well how the big movies like the blockbusters have changed since I was a boy. And I came up with it when I was at work with a bunch of the contractors I work with, and a lot of them are younger than me. They're in their 20s and early 20s even. And they'll talk to me like, do you know who this is? Do you know what this is? Have you seen this? And I'm just like, I don't have any fucking clue what you're talking about. And a big thing with movies is like, are you into the Marvel movies? Have you followed their continuity? And I don't know any of it, you know. And it annoys the shit out of them when I forget the names. Like, I call it the Thanos. I do. I'm like, Thanos, that one? And they're like, you mean, I still don't know the last end of it. I call it Age of Ultron, and that gets them. They're like, no, that's the last one. That's the one you didn't see. I'm like, but that has a cool name. I like Ultron. And so for a while I was calling Thanos Ultron. And they're like, no, Ultron's this guy, and he's the robot, and I'm like, Ant-Man made him. You know, and they know all that stuff. And I'm like, whatever. So, there's this Mr. Show sketch where a bunch of advertising executives and, like, marketing people, they all get together around a table, and they decide they're going to make a movie about clipping coupons because people love to do it so much. And they just very cynically make a movie about stuff people do, and it's, oh, moms will go see it. It's about buying socks. And it's a huge bomb. So the marketing executives, they sue the American public for not seeing the movie, and the executives win. And so the judge forces every American citizen to produce a ticket stub that proves they saw this shitty movie. And that's how I always feel when I go get talked into seeing these things. And the thing I take away from it, like I've said in previous videos, is that I felt terrible. I felt really bad when I left the theater, and that I've already forgotten most of the film for that reason, because I don't want to feel bad. And it takes me back to the 80s, when I was a little kid and I was growing up, and the movies that I would go see back then as a family, you know, with my mom and sister. And it's like, there's a clear distinction here, in just even how the movie makes you feel. Like, the direct example I want to use is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It came out in 1989. And it was the first movie from Joe Johnston. Sorry. And he went on to direct Jurassic Park 3. He does a lot of those movies for Spielberg that he doesn't want to direct himself. He was also working on Amazing Stories with Spielberg back in the late 80s. And originally that's what Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was going to be. It was going to be an amazing story. And Joe Johnston had some experience, I think, in Industrial Light and Magic. And so he was like, well, I think this is a much bigger production than a TV show. Like, I think it's a movie. And so they pitched it to Disney, and they loved it. And so you have to keep in mind that at the time, it was a huge, huge movie that still had no CGI. It was all matte effects and blue screens and miniatures and props and things like that. Forced perspective is huge in that movie. That's not a pun. It also, to me, is burned into my brain like a laser, because the entire score is done by James Horner, and who did the Lord of the Rings trilogy and, you know, some of the best film scores of all time. And it's all based on a theme of the Acme theme, or Powerhouse by Raymond Scott. It's one of those songs that you know, but you don't know you know. Like the bum 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 bum. Yep, that's the the whole score of the film is that. So, yeah, I still find myself doing that, like humming that sort of sped up version from the film. It has a very zippy, fun, breezy tone. You know, even though there are these kind of like stakes. And if you were a boy back then, you put yourself right into it. I don't know how to describe it, but we were more naive, almost like cavemen. I don't know, like we, like special effects were more convincing, and they had more of a successful illusion to them, and you just sank right into it and fell right into it. It just felt like a daydream. And I remember when we went to Disney World right after that, they had the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids experience. And you would walk through this thing that was all giant blades of grass and a big screw and bolt, and like the ant, like the giant ant that they led around with a piece of cookie or whatever. It was so cool. It was like actual props were around too. So, I had a blast. I was buzzing all the time, either when I saw the movie or when I was on the ride. It was a great experience. And then I compare that to Thanos, and it's kids crying. It's the exact opposite. And then it's my idiot friends going like, well, then don't take kids. And I'm like, what are these Saw movies now? Or 50 Shades movies? Like, what? This is bullshit. These movies are supposed to be Captain America and Thor and fuck. What are you talking about? Don't bring kids. That's ridiculous. So I'm like, what happened? And as someone said, like, well, these movies really aren't for kids anymore. Why not? For fuck's sake. These are supposed to be the fun adventure movies that everyone from 8 to 80, young and old, male, female, gay or straight, we can all enjoy them and have a blast. It's supposed to be like Star Wars used to be. Yeah, it's. I don't want to drag this on for too much longer, but that's what I tell them. And oh God, they always go like, "I wasn't born yet."